Use up. Your hormones probably switch inside your DNA. Problem is, all that sucker shit inside your DNA. Daddy probably snitch. Heritage inside your DNA. Backbone don't exist. Born on side a jellyfish.
KBLA Talk 1580. Yes, indeed. It's a great time to call me. Freestyle phones are on 800-920-1580. 800-920-1580. That's the number to call. I love that song. Look, yeah, I'm laughing at Congresswoman Lauren Boebert, who had a total full-on show your ass, freak out, meltdown moment inside a performance of the play Beetlejuice. She was with a guy, a date, I guess, who is, I'm sure you've heard about this by now. It's just so many other things going on. I haven't gotten around to talking about it, but apparently she was on a date with some guy who happens to be a Democrat, and she was wiling out. She was wiling out. The Republican far right-wing MAGA insurrectionist was vaping. The man was feeling her up. She had on a super tight, serving boobies type dress. She was yelling at pregnant women, telling them they were miserable people because they were trying to get her to quit vaping. Who vapes inside a theater? Go in the lobby at least, or go outside. And her takeaways from this public relations fiasco debacle, right? I mean, this is a woman who wants to tell you what to do with your body, right? Who has been pontificating about morality, pontificating about whether or not you have the right to terminate a pregnancy in your own body. And she out here vaping, yelling at pregnant women, and getting felt up by her date in the middle of a play that's really aimed at kids, right? Beetlejuice. So anyway, what's her takeaway? What's her solution? Break up with the Democratic date. She said what she learned from this incident was to check party affiliations before you go on a date. It's not don't yell at pregnant women. It's not don't vape in a theater. It's not don't be a giant extra satellite dish size hypocrite. No. Check party affiliations before you date. All future date nights have been canceled, she told TMZ. Alrighty. Yeah. That DNA. Okay, joining me now in a very retrograde shadow phase type of morning, my frequent partner in politics. He is a contributor to KBLA officially. You've seen him on Fox Soul a lot, punditing, which is not a verb, but it is now. And he is also the founder and CEO of ES Advisors, a public policy consulting firm. Ed Sanders, good morning. Hi, Ed.
Good morning, Dominique.
I know it's totally disorienting. We usually talk on Fridays, and today's a Tuesday. But thank you for being here.
I was really looking up the word punditing. I was like, wow, I wonder, is that a word? Are we?
As of 7:09 on Tuesday, the 19th of September, it is a word.
Yeah, I second that.
I was laughing at Representative Boeberts. The whole Beetlejuice controversy where she was out there in the theater vaping, getting felt up by her date, and she was actually kicked out of a theater. This is in Denver, because they were disrupting the show. She said she wasn't vaping, but then there's video. There's video everywhere. He was grabbing on her boobs. She was grabbing his crotch. The guy that she was on a date with apparently hosted at least one drag show at a bar he owns. And she's one of the anti-drag show ladies. But her takeaway is to break up with the guy and check party affiliation before she goes on dates.
Yeah, Lauren Boebert is she's been a special case in Congress and sadly on the national scene for too long. She reminds me of what was her name, Sarah Palin out of Alaska.
Yeah.
Just I don't know, how does one say it? I never took her to be sort of the sharpest knife in the drawer. Just
Yeah.
she's just on her little kick. Yeah.
Yeah, right. She's doing her thing. She's doing her thing. But the thing about it is, she's like, okay, I'm off to go work on the Joe Biden impeachment. I'm
Right.
done lying about vaping and grabbing men's crotches in the middle of children's plays, and I'm off to impeach Biden for what? For what? I mean, make it make sense, Ed. I'm trying to figure out what are we impeaching Joe Biden for? Where's the there?
Well, none of it makes sense, and whether or not we're talking about Biden or we're talking about the education budget, this kind of goes back to the question of who are we electing to make these decisions and from where, right? Congressional seats are sort of based on population, so you don't get that, but in some of those states where you get a Lauren Boebert from, there are two senators, like from an Idaho or North Dakota or even a Wisconsin, and they have the same power as the senators from California. That's what always throws me off when I see a Lauren Boebert, is I think about how disadvantaged we are in the Senate behind, the drawing of the maps. Folks like that got way more power than we do, and that's not right.
I just saw this. So apparently, Boebert, I think I don't know if I'm saying her name right. Boebert, she's going through a divorce, so maybe that was her divorce party at Beetlejuice.
Probably so.
Because I guess she filed for divorce like last month, and she's in the middle of that. But. Yeah, I mean, not that that's an excuse, by the way, but she's been married for 20 years, so she's like, hey, I'm outside.
I'm just saying, get a room.
Get a room. Wow.
What is she doing, right? She's out at the play. She's at the show.
I'm outside. Well, and apparently her husband is not cooperating. Like, he won't respond to her lawyers or to the judge or anything. But I guess, I don't know. I feel like I probably would date a Republican. I'm saying that slowly because I never have, to my knowledge. I don't, but that doesn't mean, if I date you, and I mean, I don't know that I condemn her for dating a guy that, hosts drag shows, even though she's trying to shut down drag shows. Drag queen story hour is now a hot topic for Republicans. If you disagree with someone, I don't think that means you can't date them. It's just it's just the vaping in movie theaters and lying about it.
It's a harder conversation for Black people. Right?
Yeah.
I often marvel at people, and it's generally white folks that can, 1 year I'm voting for the Democratic nominee for president, and the next year I'm voting for the Republican nominee.
Right.
People that could switch parties are interesting to me, but I don't see too many Black people that feel that way. Like, the Republican Party is so hostile to African Americans that, I don't see you dating a Republican. I'll put it that way.
Well, you're married, but would you date and I happen to know your wife is not a Republican, but would you date, if you were dating, would you date a Republican?
No, I couldn't.
What about you, Miles? Would you date someone that you didn't agree with at all politically?
Nah.
No. Okay. Well, Boebert, you're out there by yourself.
Equally yoked.
Equally yoked, right? Equally woke.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Can you imagine walking her right down the aisle at First Andy and sitting in the front row? Yeah. No, I don't think I can do that.
That'd be a tough time meeting the parents for the first time.
Oh, yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
right.
For sure. Well, Ed is here. I do want to get your take on Elon Musk when we come forward. Now wants us all to pay for Twitter. I know you're on Twitter. And, of course, the UAW strike looks like it could be escalating. That and more when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DePrima when we come forward.
For all of us, this generation and the next, there is simply no place in our lives for litter. And yet, it's everywhere we look. And unfortunately, it does belong to all of us. So, let's come together and create a litter-free, clean California, once and for all. Remember to properly dispose of your trash and recycling. Secure truckloads with tarps to keep debris from flying out. Clean out your car when you're at a gas station. Take pride in your community by organizing a cleanup event. Or join a cleanup event near you. Zero litter is the goal. Join us at cleanca.com. That's cleanca.com. Let's do it together. Brought to you by Caltrans. cleanca.com.
I'm MC Light for Hip Hop Heritage, celebrating 50 years of hip hop, authentically powered by Cadillac. From its earliest days of show-stopping, DJs and MCs cold rockin' parties, to its dominance on the music charts, hip-hop has been the biggest game changer in American music, and I mean ever. And it's not just about the music. It's how we celebrate, how we communicate, how we continue to elevate. Check out Cadillac and see how our swag has evolved and continues to revolve around the world.
For more on how Cadillac is celebrating hip-hop's 50th, visit Cadillac.com/audacity.
Mr. Clean, Mr. Clean. Of course I use Mr. Clean Magic Eraser to clean tough messes off my stovetop and bathtub. But then I discovered I can also use it to easily clean my patio furniture and even my shoes. I'm hooked.
And when wipes won't cut it, I use Magic Eraser Sheets. They're thin and flexible erasers, perfect for everyday messes, like gunk on my counters and sinks. They really are magical.
The reviews are in. Mr. Clean Magic Eraser and Sheets make cleaning look easy.
MVP's bonus days are back at Lowe's. Shop the largest selection of Klein tools and get 5 times the bonus points. Plus, right now, buy a DeWalt Power Stack battery kit and get a select DeWalt Bear tool free, up to a $249 value. Lowe's knows savings. Lowe's knows pros. Bonus points calculated before taxes and fees after applicable discounts, if any. Valid 9/18 through 9/29. Subject to change. DeWalt offer valid through 10/11.
Can I get a weight reading on the cat in exam 3?
Zuri needs a new vet tech after their current one literally moved to a farm. But finding an ideal replacement takes some training.
This is like herding cats.
Indeed can help them hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Schedule virtual interviews and talk to candidates right from your employer dashboard. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
The conversation continues right now with Dominique DePrima on First Things First.
Today's episode of First Things First is brought to you by Wealth Management Financial Advisors. They've got tax services. You've got taxes. They can help you with financial planning and more. Find them at wealthmanagementlb.com. That's wealthmanagementlb.com. Ed Sanders is joining me. We are at KBLA 1580 on Twitter. He is Edward M. Sanders on Twitter. And you can find me, Dominique DePrima, at DePrima Radio on all of the platforms, including Twitter, which is now X. I should be calling it X. But apparently, he said he's going to erect some kind of paywall to keep out bots and automated accounts. But he also wants to charge everyone who wants to use Twitter. This is his new thing. Right now, you only have to pay if you get the premium service, where you automatically get the blue check mark, which is a terrible thing. That's $11 a month. But he says soon everyone will have to pay, not as much as the premium users, but everyone. He's saying a few bucks a month, so that he can make the profit margin work for the company. Well, he's got 550 monthly users. So if he charged a few dollars a month, that would be a whole bunch of money. But I wonder if he would lose a whole bunch of users. What do you think, Ed?
I think so. I mean, I'm not like a devotee of Twitter or X, as it's called now. I found the platform, for like keeping track of news to be helpful, right?
Yeah.
As I look forward, I don't know. I don't, if I find better ways to stay up on the news from the outlets, and, anyone can track sort of the big papers, but I'm always interested in, what different organizations are putting out. If there comes to be a better way and I don't have to go behind a paywall, then I'm moving over there. Thus far, I haven't even done the blue check or paid for anything on Twitter, and I don't know that I will, right? And I feel that way, and so I know that a lot of people feel that way. Maybe he has enough people that will stay with the platform and pay for it. I'm just not going to do it. Particularly because, one, I don't agree that all news or, I wish that news was a free resource around the world.
Free, but paid for by somebody, because the journalists got to do all that gumshoe work and stuff. I feel like we, should all pitch in a little bit. By we, I'm talking about now the radio stations, all of the online content creators who rely on these news outlets, unless, it's a line item and we, the public, are going to pay for it. But that's a sidebar. It's also interesting that Elon Musk says there's 550 million users because he's created a new way of counting who counts as a user, which is people, I guess people that generate posts. Before that, they used to call them monetizable daily active users, which is 238 million. But either way, I think a lot of people will balk at a paywall, even if it's a couple bucks. Some of it is not just, can I afford this or not? Some of it is all these endless subscription charges just add up. They add up. And then the other thing is, you got to have a credit card or something. You can't hand the guy $2 or $3. It's got to be tied to a credit card, a bank account, or a monetary app. And I think my guess is they'll lose a lot of users if they do that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's, and I think they account for that, to be honest. I mean, we all know that they do. And, his projections are that he'll keep enough people and they'll be fine. The question of who then, and, I just say it's just one of these interesting studies that Elon Musk is not the sort of character that, looks to, diversity amongst his consumer base. That's not a big priority for him. The only worry I would have, I tongue in cheek with it, but, the only worry I have is, with all of these new technologies, if we as people aren't, sort of utilizing all of them across the board, what are we missing? What information are we missing? Where are we gleaming?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think it's a good point. I mean, the other thing is that the reason he's having this monetary crisis is because he's having advertiser boycotts, right? I mean, that's the real thing. It's because the hate on the platform has jumped up significantly since he decided he was a free speech absolutist, where, the only people that can get banned are people that criticize him. And, that whole, really, the fleeing of advertisers from the platform is the problem. That was their main income source. And so now they want to charge people to make up for advertisers. Do you think that they can really afford to continue even with a paid subscription without advertisers?
No, I mean in the end game, I mean it seems like it's sinking ship to me.
Yeah.
And to be honest, it's not that I care to see ads come across any of my platforms, right? Because those can be equally as annoying as some of the comments. But the internet and the comment fields in the United States on whatever platform are, they lay bare the amount of hate and sort of distrust and dislike that rankles beneath the surface in a lot of cases with Americans, right?
Yeah.
And we can point at the platform and say, the platform has got to find a way to keep it out. Advertisers can sort of boycott to try to clean it up. But the truth of the matter is that hate and that sentiment is always there. It hasn't gone away. I mean, we remember when the internet first started and sort of AOL, I hate dating myself that way, but those AOL rooms used to be just as vicious as anything I've ever seen on Twitter. So it's not something new. It's something that the American marketplace has to learn to deal with. And what we've been able to do is to lean on advertisers to stay out of, or at least the top advertisers, the respectable advertisers, to stay out of that space, to stay out of the market. As long as that happens, then a space like Twitter is on its way down, right? Like I don't think there shouldn't be enough people in the country just to keep a subscription, of growth. You hope, but 78 million people voted for Donald Trump, so maybe that is maybe I'm wrong.
But do those folks have $3 a month for the richest man in the world? I mean, the other thing is, this comes at a meeting with Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli prime minister, where he's meant to go and reassure Netanyahu that he's not an anti-Semite. And what he said in that meeting was that he's for free speech, but against anti-Semitism of any kind. I'm laughing because to me it sounds so Donald Trump. Yes, I'm for free speech, but I'm against racism. I'm for free speech. He didn't say racism. He said anti-Semitism. He didn't say anti-blackness. Or it sounds like he's trying to have it both ways. And of course, he goes to one of the most far right-wing, anti-justice politicos in the world to sort of, give him the rubber stamp of he's okay.
Yeah, he gets the ADL, the anti-Semitism conversation gets pulled out of this other hate conversation. It gets put in sort of the special category because to me Musk, he's the vitriol that he's put out or condoned, particularly towards African Americans. You cannot have
and trans people, even though his own child is a trans woman. I mean, those to me, those are his two number. Yeah, but you're right. It's they're all part of one thing, which is hate and white supremacy and hate. And so you can't be a free speech absolutist and be against anti-Semitism of any kind. It doesn't work that way.
Right. Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I mean, I know it's a slippery slope, right? How do you moderate? But it seems like they were doing a better job of it before he bought the platform. And there are real world consequences. If you look at the number of trans people that are being attacked and murdered, if you look at the number of Jewish people that are being attacked and murdered, if black people for just purely hate crime reasons, you got to do something. You can't just be like, oh, well, some of my best friends are Netanyahu. That's not how it works.
Yeah. Well, I would say this. I mean, the advancement in AI and sort of the bots that are dominant on, the social media outlets. The bots that create a lot of this speech are prevalent, and I think that's part of it is they've got to figure out how to stop that.
Okay, I can see what you're saying. All right, we'll continue this conversation. You're invited in after news, traffic, and sports. It's Ed Sanders and Dominique DePrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
A safe place to go loud. A great place for progressive politics. KBLA Talk 1580.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Cash bail is no longer in Illinois under the new system. If a prosecutor believes a defendant poses a risk to the community, they will bring that before a judge, and then the judge will make the determination whether someone should stay in custody or be released. The Illinois Supreme Court upheld the law in July after dozens of states' attorneys challenged it. The two black truck drivers who were refused service at a Sioux Falls, Dakota Denny's are speaking out. Damon Whitfield and Hector Madeira were joined by their attorneys for a news conference Monday. Whitfield said this is an opportunity to bring awareness to a situation that's unfortunate for us. There are many people out there who go through this stuff, and a lot of this stuff is swept under the rug. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Between the drivers, walkers, and bikers, there's a lot happening on California roads. Remember, safety is sharing. Safety is caring. Share the road, share the responsibility, and go safely, California. From the California Office of Traffic Safety and Caltrans.
Is this the title? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
I'm a bad man. Those of you who watched the NFL's Monday Night Football last night heard Snoop Dogg in the new intro song. Snoop is part of the new opening the NFL came up with to kick off the Monday night telecast. Snoop will be featured every week in the new opening with country music star Chris Stapleton and drummer Cindy Blackman Santana. Some troubling news and numbers for the Chargers. Chargers head coach Brandon Staley said there is no timetable for running back Austin Eckler to return to the lineup. Eckler missed Sunday's loss at Tennessee with an ankle injury. He was hurt in week 1 against Miami. As for the numbers, the Chargers have scored a combined 68 points in their first 2 games and have yet to commit a turnover, but they are 0-2. Something is not adding up. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Hi, this is LA City Councilman Curran Price, inviting you to the 28th Annual Central Avenue Jazz Festival on September the 23rd from 11 to 7 p.m. For nearly 3 decades, the Central Avenue Jazz Festival has paid homage to the legendary Central Avenue and its influence on jazz history. Jazz, blues, and Latin jazz will be featured on 3 stages of music. Co-headlining are Hubert Laws with special guest Eloise Laws and the Billy Childs Quartet featuring Sean Jones. The day includes plenty of food, merchants, and 4 pavilions focused on youth programming, art, health and wellness, and public resources. Parking is limited, so Metro and rideshare are recommended. Hubert Laws with special guests Eloise Laws and the Billy Childs Quartet featuring Sean Jones. The day includes plenty of food, merchants, and 4 pavilions focused on youth programming, art, health and wellness, and public resources. For more information, visit CentralAveJazzFest.com. CentralAveJazzFest.com. See you on the 23rd.
When you're young, life is full of choices. Don't let opioids like highly addictive and deadly fentanyl take away your life with just one wrong pill. Addiction is a disease that can affect anyone at any age. But there is a choice to get help for this disease. Find medically proven treatment options, including virtual, at choosemat.org.
After a big dinner, my nighttime heartburn would keep me up. I'd be taking antacid after antacid all night long. But then I tried Prilosec OTC. Just one pill a day blocks my frequent heartburn for a full 24 hours, giving me one-and-done heartburn relief without heartburn keeping me up. I could have a restful night's sleep.
Prilosec OTC. One pill a day, 24 hours, zero heartburn. It's possible while taking Prilosec OTC. Use as directed for 14 days to treat frequent heartburn, not for immediate relief.
Venture X from Capital One is the travel card for people always asking,
where next?
You earn 10x miles on hotels and rental cars, and 5x miles on flights booked through Capital One Travel, and 2x miles on everything else you buy with Venture X. Plus, receive premium travel benefits like access to over 1,300 airport lounges. The Venture X card from Capital One. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
We're not for everybody, but we're for everybody. You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580.
You are, and we thank you for it. 800-920-1580 if you want to get in on the conversation. Ed Sanders is here with me. He wants to talk to you too. So talking about the United Auto Workers. They're on strike, but it reminds me a little bit of what the hotel workers have done in Los Angeles, where they do like a rolling strike. They don't do everything all at once. And so they have said, they've struck, I think it's two factories for each one of the three major auto workers, which is General Motors, Ford, and Stellantis. Of course, I was like, who's Stellantis? It's really Chrysler, right? In any case, whatever they call themselves now, it's Chrysler. But now the UAW is saying if they don't make serious progress by high noon on Friday, they are going to expand the strike. And this has been going on for a week already. 12,000, almost 13,000 workers out on strike. I was surprised. I didn't know they had the same technology issues about the concerns about what's going to happen to them when electric cars become more prevalent. How do you see this strike moving forward?
Look, I think the industry will always be at a crossroads. And it's you have to view the strike in the historical context. You can kind of go back and there's this back and forth with the industry going back into the 70s and 80s when sort of the Hondas and the Nissans came over. Ultimately, the cost of an American car can be expensive. We like it that way because we like our American economy to be strong behind our industry. The automakers will tell you that if they don't invest some of the profits back into new technologies, that they get outpaced by automakers around the world, particularly now among, electric vehicles. And there's sort of this tug and war between invest money back into the industry on the research side and development side, or pay it out to the workers. Now, we all remember the Obama administration and how he had to work overtime to save the auto industry. And at that period, UAW took some significant concessions. And, the industry bounced back and started seeing record profits. But some of those concessions that the workers took haven't been paid back in full. And
that's a great point. Yeah.
That's what you're seeing from this leadership, because this is, throughout all that, the UAW leadership is basically turned over. They had some corruption charges over the former leadership. And this new UAW leader is actually the first one that is sort of democratically elected by the members. In the past, it had sort of been an appointment piece. And the members are telling you, we want to participate in the profits that have happened over the last 15 years as well.
As they should.
And rightly so. And so, you could see they were willing to strike all three automakers to get after this. And I think they'll expand it, even further. down the line, this is just a huge problem for Biden. I mean, this is a Biden presidency in a nutshell right here. He has got to resolve the UAW strike if he has any hope of reelection.
And he's got to do it in
Ohio,
He's got to do it in a pro worker way too. He can't be doing like little measure like they did with the trains, right? Because
right.
If he's going to say he's a pro union president.
That Midwestern blue wall has got a hold for him, and from a UAW platform, this is a fantastic time to have a strike like this, because you've got the White House in, right, and you can't imagine a strike like this with Trump in office. You get sort of
he'd probably call in the National Guard or something,
right. So
well, I mean, the other thing though,
in the Midwest, come through this.
Well, the other thing is like that. To your point about the takeaways that workers tolerated to get the industry back on track. I mean, that's why they want to get rid of these pay tiers, right? And they want to go back to a traditional pension instead of whatever these tricky kinds of payouts that have been that we've moved towards. Let's go to Marcel calling us from LA. Good morning.
Good morning, Dominique. Love the show as always. I know you have a guest, so I'll speed it up.
No, he's my co-host. Take your time. It's good to talk to you.
I just had a question. Like, I've never been a union worker, so I don't really understand. But I don't understand why the strikers are so considerate with their timing of striking. Like, for example, you just talked about the automotive industry where they're rotating, which plant or facility is going to shut down. And then you have the writers who apparently are writing when the shows are on hiatus, because now that they're coming back, it's such a big deal that they're still striking. Like, how come they didn't stop, like when it's inconvenient for the people that they're negotiating with?
I think the writer's stoppage is pretty inconvenient. But Ed, that's a great question, Marcel. Like, what is the philosophy behind these rolling strikes, or what they call them stand-up strikes, where you just strike 2 factories or 3 factories, and then or 1 or 2 hotels, and then you move to another one, as opposed to just shutting everything down? I mean, I think what Marcel is saying kind of makes sense. You would think if you shut everything down, you might see faster results.
Maybe, and the other side of it is you may burn an industry down, right? I mean, ultimately, this is labor and ownership working to find a solution, not torch a whole economy, right? And generally, that's why I think it's the case. But I may be wrong. In some cases, it's just sort of strategic, different profit models. There's a lot of different things you might evaluate. Particular factories might be some new technology that's being slowed down, as opposed to, sort of the baseline work. I honestly don't have a true answer. I don't know that there is a true answer as you move between strikes, right? Like each striking organization has its own different strategy. And generally, though, I think it's not to kill the industry. It's to have a sort of a sharpened point of attack as to what you're trying to impact, and make your point.
I mean, honestly, Marcel, I thought of it as like when you tell your kid, I'm going to count to 3. If I count, I count to 3, I need you to be over there. But what happens when you get to 3? I also would know that with the UAW, the auto workers, they're striking the top factories. They're striking 2 from each company, but they're striking the top ones. They're not, they're getting the money makers. Does that make sense, Marcel?
Yeah. I mean, it does, and his response as well, it made sense, because, like you said, you don't want to hurt the industry that you're basing your livelihood in by being employed. So I guess that makes sense too.
Trying to be strategic. At the same time, we're hearing complaints that the unions are more militant than we've seen them, at least in my lifetime. And, some of the companies are complaining about that. But to me, to your point, Ed, if the UAW voted in that guy, if the Teamsters voted in that guy, that's where our heads are at right now. And just so deal with it. I mean, I think the corporations are more militant too. If you look at the amount of money they're paying to their CEOs compared to the average worker, they've become militant, predatory capitalists. Marcel, you want the last word here, Marcel?
No. Thank you for your time, and thank you for taking my question. I appreciate y'all. Keep it up.
Appreciate you too. Okay, we got a lot to talk about. Yes, we're going to talk Deion Sanders and Russell Brand when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DePrima when we come forward. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Maisha Cairo here with a quick recap from my time at JP Morgan Chase's Advancing Black Wealth Tour. There were speakers Ian Dunlap, Damon John, Lynn Richardson, MC Light, Don Kennedy, to name a few. Take a listen to what Justin Grant, Community Development Lead at Chase's Advancing Black Pathway, let's see what he had to say.
So I'm Justin Grant. I lead community development and national partnerships for JP Morgan Chase's Advancing Black Pathway strategy. And so we're focused on strengthening the economic foundation of black communities, and we're making targeted investments in programs like the Advancing Black Wealth Tour to help us get our tools and resources out to the community to drive sustained impact over time.
So when it comes to black and brown people, it sounds like Chase is making it their personal responsibility not only to facilitate these events, but to educate and provide resources. So Mr. Grant, I have to ask, what does wealth building look like for the individual?
It's home ownership. It's having that freedom to be able to start your own business and create jobs in your community. And it's having that long-term plan towards retirement, having that vision for what you want your life to be, and you have the resources to actually live it.
I'm Maisha Cairo. Thanks for sticking around. That was my recap from Chase's Advancing Black Wealth Tour. First stop was here in LA, and they're taking it national.
The City of Los Angeles Emergency Renters Assistance Program will start accepting applications at 8 a.m. on September 19th. The program will provide up to 6 months of rental arrears to low-income residential renters who are at risk of homelessness due to unpaid rent as a result of COVID-19 or other financial hardship. Learn more at housing.lacity.org. That's housing.lacity.org.
You're listening to K-Drip, where we play all the best classic water-wasting hits like watering your lawn during the hottest time of the day and leaky faucets. They're tunes from another time because now that we face a hotter, drier future, every drop counts. Despite an extremely wet winter, keep using less water, fixing leaks, and reusing indoor water for your garden. Visit SaveOurWater.com for more ways to conserve. Up next, brushing your teeth with the water on. K-Drip.
Your ancestors' favorite radio station, and your favorite morning show host. Let's get back to Dominique DePrima right now.
Okay, good news and bad news. I guess you start with the bad news. We want to be able to end our hour on an upbeat note. So Russell Brand, comedian, actor, is now accused by multiple women of rape, sexual harassment, sexual assault, multiple instances, grooming. This apparently took place when he was, at the top of his game. And now, of course, more and more stories and comments about the guy are coming out. It seems a little Cosby-ish in the sense that it seems like it was an open secret in the industry. And this is a guy, who dated Katy Perry, but now comments are coming out that she made when she broke up with him. Of course, we're all mad at our people when we break up with them, but she said she found the real truth about him, and and she couldn't share it. One young woman was 16 at the time. I guess that's the age of consent in the UK. But she also claims that aside from having this consensual relationship, he raped her. YouTube saying Tuesday they're going to demonetize all of his platforms because of these allegations. and the BBC has taken stuff down from streaming. Its streaming archive. He put out a weird video saying that he didn't do any of these things and he's being targeted because of his views. But it's 4 different women so far. I don't even know what the question is exactly, but how do you receive this?
I to your point, it is Cosby-ish. I think one big difference in that I see in this is the presence of minors, right? And that seemed to be one of the real sticking points. Like he was having sexual relationships with minors, and I don't know where you are in the world, but wherever you are, listening on the KBLA app, the adult men, having relationships with minors is always going to elicit a reaction. You referenced sort of Katy Perry's response, and now I'm really, really curious as to what she thinks the truth is that she saw or learned about him, because while there can be some open secrets in Hollywood, whether you're, I don't know, whatever it is, but to allow sexual predators to prey on minors and not call that out is alarming.
I mean, it's alarming, but it's normal. Like, everyone has a right to react how they want to react. I don't watch Woody Allen movies anymore, even though he's funny, because it's giving sexual predator. It's giving, I married my stepdaughter after grooming her while I was married to her mother. I don't listen to R. Kelly anymore. You can if you want. I'm not saying ban R. Kelly. To me, it's giving, I am a predator of children. That's not fun or sexy to me. And I understand that there is another correlation with R. Kelly, in that it was a Times of London and English Channel 4 documentary that brought all these charges out. And you could say, well, he's guilty. He's innocent till proven guilty. So why, he's lost his agent. He's lost his YouTube monetization. Is that fair? But to your point, I think it is the, pedophile piece that takes it to the next level.
Yeah. And while, you can get caught up in some of this, I don't know what you call it other than, an accusation is an accusation. But when you start seeing this sort of response to someone, it generally means that the accusation is rooted in some truthfulness, right? Like, it may not have borne out in court yet, but boy, that's not a whole lot of there's some fire to where that smoke is.
Yeah.
And you can't just step up and say, "Oh, this is not true."
Well, now the police are calling for the victims to come forward, because so far it's media. But the consequences, and that's, I get that's a slippery slope. A charity has dropped him. He's still performing his show, but there are no actual charges yet. But then again, people are coming forward. Like you said, comedian London Hughes said he had that reputation. And I feel like a lot of these things are open secrets in the entertainment world. Maybe, not as acceptable as it used to be, but folks know.
Yeah, and therein is that's the piece. I mean, it's like folks know, and that's why you can see this movement happening so quickly and purposefully. I think everyone knows he's going to have a hard time proving that these allegations aren't true.
Yeah.
All
right. Well, when we can.
And so be it. I mean, someone like that does need to be taken off the stage.
His book deal canceled. And more of these reports coming out. We'll track it. But when we come forward, I can't wait to get you and Miles's take on the latest venture that's apparently sweeping the nation. Deion Sanders, KBLA Talk 1580.
The station you turn to when you've had it up to here with cultural incompetence. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Ray Richardson, your sports connection here at KBLA Talk 1580. Join me and my co-host Neil Scarborough every Saturday night at 7 for Out of Bounds, the show that brings some flavor to the world of sports for 60 minutes. We take you beyond the scores and press conferences. We give you our point of view, the way black folks see what's going down. You can join the conversation and give us your analysis at 1-800-920-1580. Out of Bounds every Saturday night at 7 on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
You like your style, though.
The possibility of lung cancer can be pretty scary, especially if you're one of approximately 8 million current or former smokers at high risk. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know that now there's a breakthrough low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early, and it only takes 60 seconds. You stop smoking, now start screening. For an easy quiz to see if you're eligible, visit SaveByTheScan.org. It could save your life. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
Dominique DePrima here. Having a good credit score is one critical step to obtain a loan to buy a home. But did you know that your credit score is just one factor in getting a mortgage loan? Think about this. Lenders also consider your income, your employment history, current monthly debts, the size of the loan, and the amount of your down payment. Whatever your financial goals, U.S. Bank Access Commitment Initiatives support you in reaching them. Access your personal financial goals at usbank.com/access. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
This is KBLA Talk 1580, where everybody is somebody and nobody is a stranger. You belong here.
Okay, so I guess black folks, we have apparently forgiven Deion Sanders as he has gone on to make Boulder, Colorado big on the national college football scene. The Buffaloes, the Colorado Buffaloes, as they're called, are off to a 3-0 start. Apparently, this is, he's got all these celebrities there. Their gear is selling out. Snoop Dogg, The Rock, Wu-Tang Clan, Lil Wayne are all Buffaloes fans. LeBron. Talk to me, Ed. Talk to me, Miles. Ed,
oh man, this start. Is great. This is, it's one. It's just refreshing. I mean, let me start. I got to come right out, and I was not expecting the Colorado Buffaloes to start off 0-2. I hate to say that I was one of those detractors, but I'm gonna publicly, sort of flip that stance. I mean, what we've seen over the last 2 weeks has been, some of the most thrilling college football that we've seen in quite some time. You can't help but root for him. I mean, he's got his 2 sons on the team. Hunter is an electric player going both ways. You haven't seen players go both ways in quite some time. And, the excitement back in Colorado is there. I can't wait to see next week's game.
Yeah, I mean, and they say Boulder is only 1% black, but Denver, which is right around the Kona, is 9% black. They used to call it the Harlem of the West. Miles, are you tracking this?
Oh, man, heavy. Tracking it heavy. I've been tracking Deion since he was coaching the kids in high school.
Really?
I'm proud of him. I'm proud of what him and the kids are accomplishing. I'm really proud of Shador, his son. I'm really proud of how he managed the game. I want to see how his progression is. And more importantly, this sheds a big light on HBCU talent. You know what I mean? Like, these are kids that were going unrecruited at the D1 level before Deion got there and brought them up. And now they're shining, and could possibly win a Heisman Trophy, in my opinion. So I think that it's a big look for HBCU. Shout out Deion. Shout out Coach Prime. And go Buffs.
And apparently, they're calling them Black America's team. Do you agree, Ed?
Yeah, I mean, look, Deion has always played a role. I mean, he has always been not just one of the best players of all time, but he's been, the connector between NFL players, Hall of Famers, to college kids, to the youth. I mean, he has been that sort of person. And when he was first scorned by Florida State and not tapped to be the head coach there, the reason why he went to Jackson State, to Miles' point, it brings a lot of pride in what we know Black excellence can be. And Deion has always evidenced that, right? Like, he has always been an excellent representation of us, from athletically to how he conducts himself off the field to how we are now seeing him raise his sons and coach up his team.
I can't believe they were 1-11 last year. Now they're off to a 3-0 start. Yep, that's what you call receipts. Ed Sanders, it's always fun to talk with you. Miles, thanks for jumping in. I guess I'll be watching the Buffaloes this week. Thank you, Ed.
Thanks, guys. Talk to you soon.
We've got numerology coming up next, a deep, deep dive. Looking forward to learning something this morning on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Cash bail is no longer in Illinois under the new system. If a prosecutor believes a defendant poses a risk to the community, they will bring that before a judge, and then the judge will make the determination whether someone should stay in custody or be released. The Illinois Supreme Court upheld the law in July after dozens of states' attorneys challenged it. The two black truck drivers who were refused service at a Sioux Falls, Dakota Denny's are speaking out. Damon Whitfield and Hector Madeira were joined by their attorneys for a news conference Monday. Whitfield said this is an opportunity to bring awareness to a situation that's unfortunate for us. There are many people out there who go through this stuff, and a lot of this stuff is swept under the rug. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Between the drivers, walkers, and bikers, there's a lot happening on California roads. Remember, safety is sharing. Safety is caring. Share the road, share the responsibility, and go safely, California. From the California Office of Traffic Safety and Caltrans.
Is this the takeover? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Snoop will be featured every week in the new opening with country music star Chris Stapleton and drummer